What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own Fantasy Football Huddle, presented as always by DanklyfeBrand. Let's talk sports and shank it golf. Brand, thanks so much for being here today. Today we're going to be discussing Week 9 waiver wire ads, players to drop, players to stash, players to stream, talking all your roster spots, including defense and kicker. So make sure you're locked in for the long haul. And if you haven't yet and you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. We're getting a mad influx of subscribers and love. Make sure you guys are joining in on the club and hitting that notifications bell as well so you stay notified. Thank you all so much for the love that we've received. And if you like the content, please make sure you like it. But let's get right in to all these Week 9 waiver wire additions because we've had a lot of moving and shaking things going on this last week in Week 8. And also we're past the midway point of the season. We've only got 5-6 weeks left of your fantasy football season now before the playoffs. So right now is the important time, the main push. So let's fill up our cups, roll something up, and get right into this Week 9 waiver wire episode. So to start things off, we're going to discuss the buys this week. We got Detroit, Jacksonville, San Francisco all on buys this week. So pay attention to that. Not a heavy bye week, but we do have some heavy bye weeks coming up. So make sure you look at your next couple of weeks rosters and see what those buys are looking at because that'll also change who you pick up on the waiver wire as well. You're also looking at Kirk Cousins and Kendrick Bourne out for the season, quarterback of the Vikings, wide receiver of the Patriots, out for the season with the different injuries they sustained on Sunday. And of course, with our waiver wire additions, we're targeting players that have 60% or less ownership. We want to target those players that are easily accessible on most waiver wires. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with a quarterback that we're going to be rostering and potentially starting from week to week. Sam Howell from the Washington Commanders. You've heard me tooting the horn all season, and it's time that you get on the bandwagon with me. I started him last week, and I was hella happy with it. It was his best performance so far this season. 397 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's put up 250 yards in 5 of his last 7 games and multiple touchdowns in 3 of his last 4. Sam Howell is definitely somebody that's worth consideration of starting, especially if you're looking at a bye week or an injury to your starting quarterback. I'm also looking to stream Derek Carr potentially. He's looking at 300 plus yards in each of his last 3 games. He's kind of seems like he's riding the ship and the offense is fully healthy now. So you're kind of being able to see what he's able to do. Definitely able to stream Derek Carr if you need a quarterback in a pinch. And I'm also going to be stashing Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans. You saw what he did this last week. He's definitely at least worth a look. I'm not sure if I'm ready to plug and play him yet. But Will Levis, it's hard to see, hard to deny what he did on Sunday. And I just want to see if he can continue to do it or if it's, because when you look at the quarterbacks that have also done what Will Levis did, the amount of yards, the amount of touchdowns that he did in his first start, it was Frank Tarkington and Marcus Mariota. Not necessarily the greatest list. So is he going to be another Marcus Mariota or is Will Levis, Willie Mayonnaise here to stay? We'll see. Moving on to the running backs. I'm going to be streaming Amari DeMarcado. You've heard me talking about him for the last few weeks. This week, he had 20 carries for 78 yards. Not a fantastic performance points-wise, but you're looking at that volume. He's dominating the volume in that Arizona Cardinals offense, remaining heavily involved and getting more comfortable. He's definitely a flex option with upside. I'm also going to be stashing Zach Charbonnet. Now's the time. You haven't really heard me, like everybody else, talking about Zach Charbonnet up until this point because we've been waiting for kind of what we saw this week. Last week was the first time that he outsnapped Kenneth Walker for the season. Kenneth Walker is now nursing a calf injury, and you're looking at Zach Charbonnet being able to potentially turn into an RB2 if Kenneth Walker sustains a long-term injury. He's definitely a lottery ticket stash, somebody that really can work out for you, or you might just end up dropping him back to the roster or to the waiver wire, depending on what happens with the running back above him. I'm also looking at Jeff Wilson Jr. as well as a potential stash option. You're looking at him kind of splitting the running back 2 position right now with Ahmed for the Miami Dolphins. But you're seeing him getting a steady increase in work after coming back from injured reserve. And I think eventually he's pushing Ahmed out of that RB2 role. And you're seeing behind Raheem Mostert how valuable that RB2 behind Raheem Mostert can be from week to week. So it's definitely worth a look at Jeff Wilson Jr. Going on to the pass catchers, starting with the wide receivers, I'm streaming Tyler Boyd from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's got touchdowns in back-to-back games, and he can provide wide receiver 3 production. He's got 7 targets or more in his 5 of his last 7 games, and Joe Burrow is beginning to rebound from his slow start. You're kind of seeing that coincide with all the pass catchers from Cincinnati, and Tyler Boyd is definitely going to benefit from most defenses keying in on Jamar Chase. So I like Tyler Boyd a lot. I'm also looking to stash and potentially start Demario Douglas from the New England Patriots. He's been more involved in the previous weeks, and you heard me last week talking about him in my Players That You Must Stash episode that we put out last week. But that was before Kendrick Bourne went out for the season this week. I was happy about Kendrick Bourne as well. I was tooting his horn, and he played decently until he tore his ACL and he's out for the season, which is instantaneously raising Demario Douglas to a point where he may be wide receiver 1 in the New England Patriots offense right now, but definitely will be by the end of the season. You heard me say it last week in my live episode. I don't trust Juju Smith-Schuster. He couldn't do it in Kansas City. He couldn't do it in Pittsburgh. What makes you think he can do it in New England? Demario Douglas, the young man, I think is primed to be the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. And it all really depends on how Mac Jones does. This last week, him only throwing 161 yards, definitely kind of hurt the stat line of Demario Douglas, but he had 7 targets this week, 6 last week. You're seeing him get more involved, and now he may be the wide receiver 1 in that offense. So definitely go look at Demario Douglas. I'm also looking to go into the tight ends now. I'm also looking to start Logan Thomas. He's heavily involved in the offense, and I've been talking about Logan Thomas, I feel like, every week at this point. So if you haven't added him, you really need to start listening. Logan Thomas is a tight end number 1 moving forward, not the number 1 tight end, but he's a tight end 1 moving forward, a top 10 tight end. You're looking at him getting 40 plus yards in his last 5 games and 3 touchdowns through the first 8 weeks. He's heavily involved in this offense, and Sam Howell continues to air it out to all Washington Commanders pass catchers. So definitely Logan Thomas is somebody that you need to have on your roster and start from week to week. I'm also looking to roster Trey McBride, maybe not as a stash, because you could potentially start him right now. He's coming off of his first game since Zach Ertz was added to injured reserve. He had 10 targets, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Don't expect that every week, obviously, but Kyler Murray will be coming back shortly, increasing the quarterback ability of this offense. And not many tight ends offer the upside of 10 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. We'll see if he can do it from week to week, but Trey McBride, the rookie, definitely worth an addition. Now, moving on to the end of the video, we're going to be looking at those defenses. Couple defenses for you that I'll be looking at to add off the waiver wire. Las Vegas defense against the New York Giants. Definitely a great addition. And of course, this is before Monday Night Football, so don't roast me if they get roasted on Monday Night Football. However, the Chargers against the New York Jets is another good addition for your defense if you need a streaming defense this week. And kicker Chris Boswell from the Pittsburgh Steelers, definitely worth an addition. And the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Gay, worth an addition as well if you need some streaming options at your defense or kicker. That's going to do it for today's waiver wire episode. I hope you guys are able to get the players that you want, and we're able to get those wins this weekend as well as this coming Sunday. We get those wins and lock them in and start locking in those playoff positions. Y'all, now is the push. Now is the time. Every win matters right now. So let's see if we can get another win this week. But that's going to do it for the waiver wire. We got a crazy trade episode coming up at the end, in the middle of this week because I know trade deadlines are coming up very soon. So we're going to get some mad trade episodes. Make sure you guys are asking your questions, whether it's trades, whether it's startums and situms, whether it's players to roster. I will answer them all in the live episode or even in my regular episodes every day this week. Now that's going to do it. Chins up as always and attitudes down. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.